We've got barbecue back here. You're all invited. Welcome to the Sloopcast. How are you doing today, Kyle?
Doing pretty well, Jared. How are you doing?
You know, I'm not going to complain. Currently in the chat window, there's a dog peeing on a Michigan fire hydrant. That's a.
It is that
what?
week, Jared.
It is that week.
It is that week. We don't even mention that name.
I'm going to. I'm not going to attempt. I'm not going.
You know, I'm
at
going
a
to
certain
satisfy the Buckeye fan base, and I will not address them by their name this week.
That's fine. Let's be honest here. I carry most of the weight, or I guess the time, the possession here in the podcast. My brain does not work fast enough to do word replacement.
You know, sometimes it's not about the quantity; it's the quality. Sometimes, Jared.
I wasn't bragging. That wasn't me suggesting.
Yeah.
That wasn't my increased time of possession on the podcast as far as, talking minutes goes. That wasn't a brag. It was more of like, if you really go back and analyze the sentence, it was actually me saying like, it's a burden. If you're real, because like, I really can't do like 40 minutes to an hour. And then if 2/3 of that's me, I'm just going to say Michigan. I can't do it. Like my brain does not work fast enough to do that sort of word replacement. It just, my brain does not have a control F, and we do not have a script here.
I can do it. So I'm going to satisfy the fans here, and I will not address them by their name, but we're not talking about that team up north, Jared. We're talking about the Ohio State Maryland game this last weekend, where Ohio State won 43-30. Definitely not the kind of game that we predicted, Jared, the kind of game that a lot of Buckeye fans thought was going to happen, but here we are, Ohio State with a 13-point victory.
And it was closer than that. Let's own that right off the top.
It was pretty much a 3-point victory. It was a 3-point victory. We're not going to kid ourselves here, but yeah, we're going to break this down. And I believe I might've mentioned it in our Know Your Enemy, that in order for Maryland to have a chance in this game is that baby Tua would have to have the game of his life. And he about did. He really about did.
Yeah, we saw
he was pretty much perfect at the entire first quarter. He could not miss. He was like 12 for he completed his first 12 passes or something ridiculous like that. And so I ended up with a pretty good completion rating. 26 for 36 for almost 300 yards, 2 touchdowns. He had himself a fantastic game, and you got a hats off to him there.
Statistically speaking, the better quarterback in the game. Let's say that. And that's not me knocking Stroud. I think there was a lot of other factors taking place. Wide receivers just straight up dropping completely makeable passes for one. And I don't know. I'm really having issues. I'm having concerns with a lot right now, like a lot. One, we got the Tulia that was like early season form Tulia. He's been back for a few games now, but looked like garbage in all of those games.
Yeah, the previous 2 games we mentioned in our Thursday episode, he only had like less than 150 passing yards combined in this past 2 games before the Ohio State game. And he surpassed that, I believe, like in the first quarter.
So Maryland's prince that was promised for the game. Yeah. Again, like this is what he's capable of. He's wildly inconsistent. That's why he's not really going to sniff the NFL, not due to a lack of talent, because he's talented. But he's just very inconsistent. And there's a lot of this going around this weekend. We'll talk more about this in detail on the Tuesday episode on Collegiate Chaos. But like, we saw a bunch. Look at Spencer Rattler. Spencer Rattler looked like garbage the entire season, and then looked like the best quarterback in the country for one night. And Tulia Tagovailoa I tried. I went for it. I tried.
Almost.
Almost. He is capable of doing this. When he is on, when everything is clicking, he's capable of doing this. He's incredibly talented. But we hadn't seen this since he got hurt. And I don't know if the game plan was just right. I don't know if he just got enough confidence early that he wasn't in his head. I don't know if he just needed a couple games to get back into things. I don't know. But you have to remember this guy was I don't know if he was a 5-star or a high 4-star commit to Alabama at one point. But he's just never gotten over his consistency issues. But much like Bo Nix, much like a lot of quarterbacks out there some of them are capable of greatness on like any given Saturday.
Yep.
Spencer Rattler, we'll throw his name out there too. Are like capable of greatness any given Saturday, but just aren't very consistent. And again, like this is what a quarterback like this can do to you when everything is clicking. And it was clicking for him. One of the things you really have to be mindful of, especially depending upon who Ohio State ends up playing in the playoff, which at this point I'm still planning is going to happen. By the way, I'm of the firm belief that whoever loses, if it's a close game, keep in mind, we can't have a situation where one team blows out the other team. But if it's like if it's like an under 7-point game, whoever loses Ohio State and Michigan, I think still makes the playoffs. And again, if you want to, we are beating Michigan, Jared. I know, I'm just not cursing it. That's all. I'm just not cursing it. All I'm saying is that Michigan, let's just say Ohio State wins on Saturday. Michigan can still make the playoffs. And again, like if you're like, oh, Jared, that's wrong, and I need you to explain yourself, we'll go into more detail on that on the Tuesday episode. We'll run through some playoff scenarios on the Tuesday episode. We're going to stick to this right now. But all of this to say that Ohio State's not really played any good quarterbacks this year. The Big Ten, outside of CJ Stroud and Tua on occasion, is a bad quarterback league this year. Who is the best quarterback, Kyle, that Ohio State has played this year?
Do you want me to say it? Because it hurts me to say it.
I think I know the answer.
Sean Clifford.
No. I disagree.
Based on his performance, almost 400 yards passing, 3 touchdowns against Ohio State in that game. I would think so.
Yeah, but again, like wild, inconsistent quarterback though, right?
Okay, but that was the best quarterback Ohio State has played up until Maryland. It was.
I don't remember the young man's name, and he got hurt, so you can't really even go look up his stats. But like the Arkansas State quarterback was wild. It was like watching Braxton Miller all over again, if you remember.
Oh, Blackman?
Yeah. No. Am I?
Are you thinking of Toledo?
Toledo.
Are you thinking of Finn?
Toledo. Not the other cupcake game.
Yeah, Finn.
Yeah. The Toledo. That, and again, like it's a different type of quarterback, right? But
it is, yeah.
All of this to say that Ohio State's not played many good quarterbacks. The Big Ten is totally deprived of good quarterbacks this year, outside of CJ Stroud. And
it's
before anyone is like
he's on his own pedestal.
Yeah.
Then it's empty.
Yeah.
Then it's empty again.
Tier list the Big Ten quarterbacks. CJ Stroud is S tier, and then no one's in A tier. And before
CJ Stroud has the gold, silver, and bronze medal.
Yeah.
No one else is placed.
Right. And like, I know someone's out there, especially like probably some Michigan people maybe tuning in this week. Kyle McCord is an A tier. Oracle, I don't know if you're wrong. Before people are like JJ McCarthy, when he's healthy, which I don't think he's been all year. He had a shoulder injury early. The dude can't throw the ball accurately further than 10 yards down the field. The ball floats. The ball gets there too late. I'm not. Again, maybe if his shoulder was completely healthy, but the JJ McCarthy I have seen this year, the JJ McCarthy who's played in the year 2022 cannot throw the ball accurately more than 10 yards down the field. Like I said, the ball gets there late. The ball floats. He cannot throw the ball with any like actual zip or tight window accuracy past 10 yards. But he doesn't get exposed because they run the ball every play. I don't know what the numbers look like now, but going into the week, Michigan had like, I want to say it was like a 65-35 split in favor of running the ball, which is crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's look at some look up some numbers here, Jared. So total yards for both teams pretty much identical. 401, 402 yards. So pretty much identical there. Ohio State did rush the ball a little bit better than Maryland. Maryland rushed the ball for 84 yards. Ohio State,
hold on.
160
they
yards.
Doubled them. Yeah. Ohio State ran for twice as many yards as it's not a little bit better.
Mm-hmm. Maryland did pass the ball a lot more. Well, not a lot more. They threw it 7 more times, but they had 70 more yards than Ohio State. But I think when I look at these numbers here, it's penalties. I think there was a lot of times, especially in that first half, it was just frustrating. It was just frustrating watching Ohio State trying to, other than the one good drive that ended up getting a touchdown in the first half, watching Ohio State's offense, it was just so upsetting just seeing that they kept shooting themselves in the foot with false starts and penalties and delay of games. It's just like you should not have these type of penalties this late in the season right now. All of this should have been cleaned up.
This looked like September football.
A hostile environment. It was a stadium that was 3/4 full, 40-some thousand fans in there. Not loud at all. No excuse for those kind of penalties. They ended up with Ohio State with 11 penalties, 97 yards of penalties in this game. Gotta clean that up before this upcoming weekend.
I'll say this. We don't complain about refs on the show, and there's not a but coming. A lot of times I'll say that, and then there's a but that comes. No buts coming. The refs called this game incredibly tight. They called some holdings that you typically see go. They called some pass interferences that you typically see like not get called, but I think they were calling it tight both ways. I think both teams had 10 or 11 penalties in this game.
Yep. It was pretty much even. Yeah.
The referees were calling this one super tight. And I would say poorly, but not poorly in like, sometimes it favored Ohio State. Sometimes it favored Maryland. Like I'm not there's no like, oh, the referees were terrible. And that's why Ohio State, No, it's the referees called a poor game and they called things way too tight.
Yeah.
But Ohio State also benefited from that at times. Like the refs were just bad. They weren't one-sided, but they were calling things poorly.
They were, yeah. So probably the biggest news in this game here, other than probably the scoreboard, TreVeyon Henderson went down early or left early. Tried to continue to play, but you saw after he got that touchdown in the first quarter, you saw that it was just he just wasn't himself. You can tell that his injury is still lingering. Ended up leaving for the game, and then in comes freshman Dallin Hayden, and he had himself a game here. 27
Yeah.
carries, 146 yards, 3 touchdowns in this game, Jared. But
Featured
yeah,
on the thumbnail. I'll let everyone know. He's on the thumbnail for this episode.
I mean, that's probably the biggest storyline coming up to this week is for both teams is their star running backs for this upcoming game.
Yeah.
Will either Henderson or Mayan Williams play, or will Corum play for that team up north coming up here? We don't know, but seeing Hayden
By
and the
the
way
way,
he runs here has got to make Buckeye fans feel a little bit better coming for this upcoming game.
and not just Corum, Edwards was not in that game either. He sat with an injury. Both of these teams have their top 2 running backs, let's say, questionable heading into the game.
And then Ohio State also has their 3rd and 4th running back out as well, and they're playing their 5th running back here.
Yeah.
Either way,
4th.
Staying on track with Maryland here. You look at the stats, it is almost identical. You just go down the line here, other than the clear evidence that Ohio State was able to rush the ball better than Maryland here. But yeah, the biggest question to me here that when I rewatched the game here, I think it really just comes down to a couple of things. One, no matter what kind of defense you throw up, what kind of defense you call here, the better offensive play calling will always be better than the best defensive calling. And we saw that Baby Tua just had the game of his life there, and he almost pulled out the win there, and you got to give your hats off to him there. But definitely some questioning about, I don't know if it's so much the play calling or if it was just player execution. I can't quite pinpoint exactly where it was, because there's definitely some times, especially on key 3rd downs or especially 3rd downs where you're playing 5-8 yards, the corners that are 5-8 yards away from the wide receivers. And you're like, why are you not pressing further up when they only need 5 or 8 yards there, and it's an easy pitch and catch and they get a 1st down there, or they make it very manageable too. It was mind-boggling at times on the defense.
They've been doing that all year, and like depending upon what the defensive call is, sometimes that's the right thing to do. Especially like Tua has a good arm. I keep calling him Tua. He's not Tua. His brother's Tua. No. Talia has a great arm. He can put the ball down the field. All that is like acknowledged. I think that, especially in regards to the passing game, I think Ohio State was willing to let them get some of the underneath stuff. Now, Kyle, you're absolutely correct that they should not be doing that. They should not be giving a 7-yard cushion if it's 3rd and 6.
Mm-hmm.
I acknowledge that, but they have. And again, we'll talk about this more on Know Your Enemy on Thursday when we actually go. I can't help but talk about Michigan a tad. Again, JJ McCarthy can't throw the ball downfield. The absolute last thing you should be doing against Michigan is giving their wide receivers big cushions.
Well, we'll cover much more about that on our Thursday episode, because I would love nothing more than to talk about the game here, Jared. I absolutely do, but I just
you keep reeling me in, because I'm gonna keep wanting to do it.
Just want to stay up on here. So let's finish up talking about the game as a whole by grading each coaching position and positions itself here, and we can kind of dig deeper into the game here. So grading the coaching as a whole. I think as a whole here, you put up You put up 43 points. Again, I mean, you could argue it was 36 points with a touchdown at the
That counts.
last second there, but it counts.
overall coaching, it counts.
You put up 43 points, you give up 30 points, and as the game as a overall, I'd probably give the coaching staff I would say a solid B. Again, grading as a whole here and what we've seen from the first half to the second half adjustments here on both sides of the ball, and special teams play too, on both negative and positive. I would say probably a solid B is what I would give the coaching staff as a whole.
Thinking about coaching, one thing, we were watching this game during the social screen in the Discord server. So a bunch of us were in the social screen room watching this game. One of the things I noticed, Ryan Day, by the way, like a lot people used to sort of make fun of Tressel for never saying anything of substance in his press conference. Cal and I stopped even talking about his press conference. Like, Ryan Day is a subtle master of giving us nothing in the press conferences. Subtle master at it. He's very, very good at saying nothing and giving away nothing. Then we got Urban Meyer, and Urban Meyer would straight up like call out people, right? Like, it was total flip. Ryan Day said what I think was maybe the most public criticism I've ever heard him say. I think it was coming back from halftime.
Mm-hmm.
May have been going to halftime, but I'm pretty sure it was coming back from halftime. He was talking about the running game, and he straight up said, I think the offensive line is blocking well, but we aren't hitting the holes.
Yeah. No, you're right.
That, by the way, is the closest. That is the closest thing I've ever heard to Ryan Day taking a dig at a player. And like, Kyle, and I say all of this to like give him credit for you gave Trey a bit of an out by saying it was due to his injury. And I don't think it's true. I don't think they sat him because of his injury. Publicly, that's what they'll say. I don't think it's true. I think that they just wanted Hayden to go out there and run instead. Hayden went out there and he hit the holes. And I'm just saying, and all because I know we're talking about the coaching, just giving Ryan Day credit for benching Henderson, because that's what happened. He got benched.
Well,
and going with Hayden.
He had the boot on too. He had the boot on as well.
I know. Sometimes you protect the guy's ego. No, I think this is the one time where it's not. I think this is one of the first times in which I actually like fully believe, because he just straight up said the holes are there. We're just not hitting them.
What would you grade the coaching staff as a whole then, Jared?
B+.
Okay. All right. So let's move on to the offensive coaching staff. I would grade them I would grade the offensive a B+ overall. First half a D, and then probably or like a C, something like that. But the second half much better. You put up 33 points in the second half there, but much better second half.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I gotta knock the offensive. No, I'm not. We're gonna go lower. It's like a B-, and I have to wait the first half, because Kyle's right. The second half much better than the first half as far as offensive coaching goes. How in November are you not getting the play in on time?
Yeah.
How are the stupid penalties? How are you letting that happen? That's inexcusable. And like, we're talking some of these plays were like the first play of the possession. We're not talking about trying to pick a third down play and getting in there. No, it's like you're coming out of a TV timeout and you get a delay a game. How are you doing that in November? The offense looked like a September offense at times. like they were just trying to figure some stuff out. It looked very sloppy at times. But as Kyle said, it was much better in the second half.
Yep. All right. So the quarterback play, man, this is it. It hurts me to say this, really, Jared, but CJ Stroud these past few games. Yes, I know he had a great game against. Well, I guess I don't want to say great. I mean, he had a good game. Yeah, he had 5 touchdowns in that game, which yeah, really good. But his completion percentage these past 3 games has not been.
Man, let's go back through the film and count the drops, though, man.
There is that too, but some of the throws he's been making, it seems forced or is just not what we're used to seeing with CJ Stroud. 60% against Maryland, 60% against Indiana, 38% completion against Northwestern.
We don't count Northwestern.
Yeah.
Throw Northwestern out.
So it's just not up to par of what I'm liking to see CJ Stroud. So I'm going to knock him down a little bit here just because of expectations. You're the leading candidate for the Heisman here, and your only touchdown you threw in this game was to the running back, not to any of the wide receivers here. I'd probably give CJ Stroud like a C in this game. C plus.
You go ahead and do that. I don't think it's on Stroud. I think you're placing the blame in the wrong place. He has dropped back on many occasions and just found no one who was open. I don't like to call out individual players on the show too often, but Julian Fleming has more drops than receptions at this point through the season. I don't know if that's a accurate statistic, but it feels like it, especially the past few games.
Well, this game he was much better. I don't think he really had. I'm trying to remember if he had like really a drop in this game or
a couple.
I don't remember them though. He made some great catches in this game though.
Fleming?
Yeah, he had a couple of catches in here, I believe. Yeah.
Literally 2. And he dropped at least that many. I think your blame here is misplaced, and the offense is not running smoothly. A lot of that has to do with the fact that the running game has not operated smoothly. Emeka doesn't seem to be getting open like he was getting open earlier in the year. Julian Fleming doesn't seem to be able to catch the ball with the amount of consistency that you need to be able to do if you want to play for Ohio State. And other teams have figured it out, and they're, doubling Harrison. But yeah, the other teams are going to have to, or the other wide receivers, like when we've seen struggling, like in the interior of the offensive line this year, you kind of just have to roll with it sometimes, because that's not a position that they've recruited with a lot of success in recent years. So you don't have amazing depth at the offensive guard position. But with the wide receivers, at what point do we, hey, it would be wonderful if JSN came back on Saturday. But at what point do we start looking at Ballard or hell, Xavier Johnson to come in and start? I'm tossing it out there because the wide receivers have not been playing well, and I know there is some very hungry, very talented players not getting snaps. And I think placing it on CJ, I don't believe is accurate, Kyle, but that's just my opinion. Okay. I'll give him an A-.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I did not.
It's not him.
Especially the second time that I watched that, I don't agree with that, Jared. There's definitely some missed throws and missed opportunities that CJ has done in the past, and
I didn't give him an A+.
What we expected.
I didn't give him an A+. Gave him an A-.
All right, offensive line. I'd probably give the offensive line an A. I thought overall the offensive line did really well here. I do not believe Yeah, no sacks given up in this game here. I'm just double checking that real quick, but they gave CJ plenty of time in the pocket uh, to make those throws, to make his decision in there. Uh, in my opinion, he didn't. But and on the running game there, they opened the holes, and we saw what Hayden was able to do, rushing for about 5.5 yards per carry here. Yeah, I'd give the offensive line a solid A here.
Yeah, kept CJ clean for most of the game. Yeah, everything Kyle said. By the way, shout out to Enoch Famahi, who has to come in after Matt Jones gets hurt, and thought he played well. It was later in the game. He didn't play necessarily a ton, but when he came in, I thought he played very well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. All right, running backs here. Oh, I'd probably give the running backs a. Yeah, I'd probably give an A as well too. And
Yeah.
I mean, I wanted to knock it lower based off of Henderson's performance, but I think what Hayden did with 3 touchdowns, 5.5 yards a pop here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll give the running back group a solid A just because of Hayden's efforts.
Yeah, and again, like we don't know the story behind Henderson. How bad? Like I don't ankle, turf toe. Not sure what the situation is there. Because like on the reception, he was great. He was great for that one play. He's not been able to find the holes running the ball, and I have been saying it since September that he reminds me of J.K. Dobbins. And J.K. Dobbins, his junior year, is especially in the lead up to the season, was telling everyone in the press all day, every day, I was great as a freshman. As a sophomore, I tried to make every play into a big play instead of just getting the holes that were there. And it hurt me.
Yeah.
And I think that's exactly, again, plus injuries. Like, Henderson dealing with injuries all year. Something's wrong. Again, maybe it's an ankle, maybe it's a turf toe. We don't really know. But something's, or maybe it's psychological, or maybe it's, the J.K. Dobbins thing, but he's not been playing well this year. I'll probably do mine like an A-, Kyle.
Okay.
Because, Dallin played great.
Yeah.
What's up, Sun Card?
All right. Moving on to wide receivers here. Mecca led the team with receptions and yardage here. 6 receptions, 82 yards. Marvin with 5 for 68 yards. And Julian Fleming, the third receiver, with 2 for 30 yards. This is an issue that we've started seeing recently here, and I'm definitely concerned with you mentioned about Fleming here. Yeah, he definitely these past few games, or really most of the year, has dropped a lot of passes here. And I feel that Stroud may be more hesitant to throw it to Fleming, and why we're seeing so many more throws going towards Harrison because of the just amazing catching ability that he's had this year. But I'm really disappointed with what I've been seeing from Fleming here, and overall. And yeah, I'd probably give the wide receivers like a C plus as well. I think the wide receivers need to get better at getting open and just stopping with those drop balls.
Suncard says, I felt like the broadcast was the B team and didn't have quality camera angles, just me. The announcers were definitely to say they're the B team is generous.
Generous.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not a fan. Not a fan. I thought the camera work was fine though.
What would you give the wide receiver grades, Jared?
I think your C plus is fair. I might just do a standard C.
Okay.
Yeah. Again, like this should be the deepest, most talented group on the team, and they don't look like it. We grade based off of expectation, and the expectations should be high here.
Yep. All right. Moving on to the tight end here. Cade Stover had 2 catches for 20 yards, and one of those was that critical catch.
Very critical.
Was on third down. I believe it was on third down there. Yeah, I think overall what Stover has been doing, and especially on the run blocking game, that was one thing I really noticed watching it the second time, Jared, was just the run blocking ability of our tight ends here. Just really, really good job from them. So I'd probably get the tight ends like an A minus. I think it's.
I think that's
very,
fair.
Very well done job by the tight ends in this game.
Yeah, that's fine. Stover is very quickly becoming one of my favorite tight ends at Ohio State ever. I'll say it. As far as like both blocking and passing and pass catching, he's quickly becoming one of my like favorite tight ends at Ohio State.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nick Vinette joins the chat.
All right, moving over to the defensive side. Defensive coaching. I'd probably give them a B. I'd probably give the defensive coaching like a B minus here. I'll go with a B minus here. Really, really proud of how well Ohio State's have done with the run defense side of it. But man, I mentioned it at the start of the show here, Jared. I don't know if it was just the scheme or if it was just the players playing too off of the line of scrimmage there, but we'll cover more of this on the Thursday game. But you gotta press up a little bit closer when it's 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6, and you're 8 yards from that wide receiver. You got to play him closer.
I think it was mostly Talia playing on his head. I think that's what it was more than anything else. A lot of his best plays were straight up breakdowns. Him escaping, making time, finding a player. It wasn't even any one of the Maryland wide receivers that did it. Demas had 5 catches. Jarrett had 3. Felton had 2. Copeland had 4. But Hemby, another guy who's, I can't read that from here, had 4. Jones had 3. Ball's totally spread around. I don't know how much of it was it being like a bad scheme. And again, like we've talked about, as and Kyle just mentioned it, hey, if it's 3rd and 6, maybe don't give the guy an 8-yard buffer. But they've been doing it all year, for better or worse. I didn't think there's anything wrong schematically. I think they just weren't always making plays when they needed to make plays. And I think that, and again, I don't know if this was a scheme or an execution issue, they were going after Talia like he was a stationary quarterback at times. Like it didn't look like they were trying to play a contain on him as far as like the pass rush standpoint. So I think that was probably a bit of a mistake. But yeah, I think your B minus is accurate.
Okay.
Suncard asks, why do bubble screens sucks for Ohio State, but work wonders against Ohio State? I don't think they work wonders against Ohio State.
No, I mean, I only think there was one that got more than 10 yards, but most of them. I
don't think that was more of a traditional screen. I don't even think that was a bubble.
There was a lot of them, like Ohio State was right there getting them for 5-6 yards, if not less. And there was a couple of plays. I remember one in particular. was it Tanner? Really got in there and just destroyed them and got a negative play for Maryland. So yeah, no, I wouldn't agree that bubble screens has worked wonders against Ohio State. I
Yeah.
wouldn't agree with that.
Why don't we run more screens with Xavier? Xavier's not been on the field since Julian Fleming, not with a lot of consistency anyway, since Julian Fleming came back onto the field.
Yeah. All right. Moving on to the defensive ends here, Jared. Oh boy, defensive ends. Harrison had himself a great, especially fourth quarter or last drive. Harrison really stepped up there. Sawyer really making a name for himself these past few games as well. JT really coming in, especially early in the game here, making his presence known. Yeah, I'd probably give the defensive ends probably a solid A. I thought overall the defensive ends did really well. For the
Zach Harrison sealed the game too. Like, you got to talk about that. 2 straight sacks at the end of the game, totally sealing it.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. He had a really good game, especially that last series.
Yeah, mostly. Well, no, that's not fair. He was creating pass rush a lot. Great on the run. Yeah, no, I thought the defensive ends played incredibly well. Again, I don't know if this was a schematic issue or if this was an execution issue. They seem to be going like full out at Tulio and not, and that sort of gave him an opportunity to, sort of escape the pocket. Like, there wasn't a lot of contain put on him. Maybe that's not on the defensive ends. Maybe that's on the linebackers. Maybe that's just a coaching decision. I don't know, but yeah, I thought from a playmaking standpoint, the defensive ends were good. I do think there were instances in which the quarterback had a lot of time to throw the ball at times. So I don't know if I'm gonna go a straight A. I might do an A-. It felt like it felt very feast or famine as far as just like the pass rush in general goes.
Okay. So what would you grade them, Jared?
A-.
Okay. Defensive tackles. This is one that I have a hard time trying to figure out how to grade them. I think the defensive tackles, that kind of to what the point you were just making, trying to make Talia a little more uncomfortable in the pocket there, and I feel like that a lot of the pressure up in his face wasn't there that I was hoping to see. So I probably give the defensive tackles like a B+ here. Definitely did really good on the run stop here.
Yeah, I was about to say, you need to acknowledge that their best running back had 39 yards.
Yes, no, absolutely, but the damage that Maryland did was on the passing side, and we saw many times when Ohio State got pressure right up on Maryland there on obvious, like, well, not obvious, but just on the passing plays, he was just really very inaccurate and was just not himself there. And if the defensive tacklers were able to get up on his face a little bit more, I think this would have been a much, I don't think Maryland would have had as many points.
Totally fair. No, I think we saw like last year we saw Tyleik Williams participating a lot in the pass rush. Earlier in the season, we saw Mike Hall participating a lot in the pass rush. And while I do think these guys are still doing a good job from a running standpoint, we've not seen them disruptive in the pass game the way we have seen them recently been disruptive in the pass game. So I think you're correct, Kyle. I'll say this though. My bigger concern, which is maybe why we've seen more Vincent on the field as of late, my bigger concern with the defensive tackles is anchoring the middle of the line for the run block. I think that's it might be why, again, like, I feel like that's why we've had Vincent in there more. That's my bigger, I'm going to weigh that a little bit more. So I think I'll do mine like at an A-. Again, like, they totally stuffed Maryland's ability to run the ball. Like, Maryland just quit after a while.
Yeah. All right. Moving on to the linebackers here, Jared. Man, Tommy Pickles just, what more can we say here? He had himself a really good game here, getting 13 tackles, 10 of those solo.
One of them a tackle for a loss.
He did have a tackle for a loss there. But I feel that the linebackers as a whole, there was definitely times when they lost containment of baby Tua, and he made them pay to extend the plays and maybe even getting those critical first downs too at times. But I mean, part of it, you just got to give your hats off when you have an athletic quarterback like that. They're going to make plays though. But yeah, I think the linebackers, I'll probably give them like A-, something like that. I thought overall the linebackers did a really, really good job.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about Maryland's complete inability to run the ball. Tommy Eichenberg, 10 solo tackles. It probably should be noted, Steel Chambers got a touchdown in this game.
He did, yeah.
I mean, that play was mostly Zach Harrison, but hey, sometimes the guy's got to finish the play, got to step up and finish the play, and Steel Chambers was in position to do it. So yeah, I think like an A- is probably fair here.
All right.
Again, like, I think one of the reasons why is like you have to take into consideration containment. Kyle, by the way, check out, have you seen this GIF yet? This is a new one in the Boom library. Because that's your boy right there.
That is my boy, Ted Ginn Jr. He is my boy. Yes. All right. Speaking of burning wide receivers here, or wide receivers burning cornerbacks here. Cornerbacks here, Jared. Man, again, I have a hard time trying to figure out how I should grade the corners. I'm not sure if it was a scheme or if it really was just the receivers playing that far off of them. And I think somebody mentioned it in the chat. I know I wasn't participating in the social screening, but I was watching chat as I was trying to watch the game on my tablet while I was on the road. But yeah, a lot of those like 50-50 balls do not seem like they've been 50-50s, Jared.
Yeah.
And again, a lot of those wide receivers that the corners have been going up against have been a lot taller and they've been outmatched. But just some of those plays, they just seem like they were just so lost on where the ball is at. And we saw it again in this game here. I was just not. This game was just not acceptable from an Ohio State corner standpoint here. I'd probably give they made some plays. They definitely made some plays here and there, but I probably give the corners like a C-. I probably give them a C- here. I just not the expectation we're wanting to see from these corners here.
I don't know how much of it's on them though. Like, I don't think they're making the decision to, like, you can knock Denzel Burke if you want to knock Denzel Burke, but is he making the choice to play 7 yards off the ball? Is that his choice? And a lot of the bigger passes that were given up, or I would say actually given up by the safeties, a lot of those were downfield. McAllister had like a very hot and cold game. He made some great plays, gave up some big plays. There was a pass interference in the end zone that I believe that was a safety that did that. Hancock's young. He has not had a lot of playing time. He's had injury issues. Give him some time. Knowles just likes playing it all forward. Well, yeah, Knowles likes to play things forward, which means in order to be safe on the outsides. The wide receivers need to be playing, a bit of a safety, not safety is the wrong word to use there, but they have to play with a bit of cushion because, again, like one missed tackle or whatever, then the guy's gone. It's just there's no perfect defense.
Yeah.
In order to do some things exceptionally well, that's going to hurt or hinder or offer openings elsewhere. It's just how it goes. I think the soft zone was because we got burnt by Talia's legs. I think the soft zone was at times because I think they were just daring them to throw it accurately, consistently, because Talia's not done that since he came back from an injury. They basically said to Talia, we're not going to let you run the ball. Or not say that to him. They said that to the offense in general. And then we're going to give you some cushions. We're not going to give you big plays down the field. We're going to give you some cushions. We're going to play the linebackers up. We're going to play the safeties up. We're not going to let you run the ball. We're going to give your wide receivers some cushions because we're not going to let you beat us deep. And we're going to force you to be consistent and accurate and on time. And by the way, I don't disagree with that game plan going into the game. And he did it. Yeah, he did do it. They challenged him to do it. They said, go be consistent because he hasn't been consistent since he came back from the injury. That day he was consistent. I don't disagree with the game plan based off of what we've seen from Talia at this point in the season. Now, he came out and he answered the call and he did exactly what Ohio State gave him an opportunity to do, again, because there's no perfect defense. There's no perfect defense. There's always going to be, sometimes you just have to choose your weakness. And I think that's what the defensive coaching staff did here. They said, we're going to give up quick, easy passes because we don't believe that Talia is going to be able to consistently hit them. And they were wrong. But again, based off of the evidence they had of how Talia's been playing since he came back from the injury, I think that was a good scheme. It's just Talia, like Spencer Rattler, chose this game to play outside of his mind. It happens. I agree with this entire take. Thank you, Esquire.
What would you grade the corners here, Jared?
Oh, is that what I was doing?
Yes.
I think it's easy to scapegoat the corners when a quarterback throws for a bunch of yards. I don't think that's what happened. I don't think it's totally fair to just put it all on the corners. Think the safeties deserve a lot of blame. And I think the scheme, again, like I said, I don't disagree with the scheme, but the scheme deserves a lot of the blame too. I put him at like a B minus. Let's do B minus.
All right, moving on to the safeties real quick here, Jared. There were times again here. I thought overall the safeties did a pretty good job here. I mean, Ransom, Jared. Ransom had himself a game here.
Ransom had a really good game. He also gave up some passes, like in a game in which everyone gave up some passes. Ransom also gave up, but again, from a special team standpoint, he blocks another punt. He made some excellent plays, but again, he also made some bad plays at times. I think you could say, I think again, like I already said, McAllister had some really great plays, had some not so great plays. Like they were largely just feast or famine, I guess the safeties were. I'll do another B minus.
All right.
Did we unlock a cheat code with Ransom on punt block? Potentially. Yeah, I'll say this. I think the Maryland punter took like an extra half step.
Yeah, I'll give the safeties a B minus too. I think that's fair. McAllister made some good plays, but also made some plays where he was just not in the right position. But yeah, I think a B minus. I think it's fair, Jared. All right, and then last is special teams here. The goods and the bads. I mean, yes, we talked about Ransom with his punt block there, but then there's also a an extra point block that was returned for 2 points.
Yeah.
Uh, for that Maryland got. So I'm pluses and minus there. I'd probably say a B then for special teams. Yeah, and X had a couple of good returns on a kickoff return. I think that's your kickoff returner right now is Xavier. I really like what I see there, and I still have my fingers crossed that he'll return one eventually here, but
He should get more run. I mean, depending upon where we're at with Henderson's ankle, foot, whatever it is.
Yeah. What would you grade this
on? Oh, I mean, yeah, no, that's
special teams.
That's exactly what I thought you meant, Esquire. Oh, as a wide receiver, you mean? Again, I don't disagree with you.
Teams, Jared?
Your grade is fair. B's fine.
All right. And then we're going to quickly here give our Buckeye leaves, Jared. So let's start with the offense. Who's your offensive player you give your Buckeye leave to?
Is there a question? Dallin Hayden.
Yeah, it's Hayden. It is Hayden in this game. All right, we'll make that easy, and then on the defensive side,
well, Suncard took up all of the votes. Dallin from Dallas? No, he is not from Dallas.
What would you grade the defense, Jared?
He's from Tennessee.
Who would you give the defensive?
I feel like Memphis. Yeah, there you go. That's Tennessee. I wasn't going to pull up the city that quickly. I'm not one of those guys. Let's see. A defense. I feel like there's a couple good answers here. I'm going to give it to Zach Harrison for delivering when the game was. Kyle, was that yours?
That was mine.
Do you want me to pick a different one?
If you want, if you had a second person.
I have like 3, I think.
All right.
I'll go. You got to go. I think probably with Tommy Eichenberg again. 10 solo tackles in a game where Maryland achieved nothing on the ground. Tommy Eichenberg. And if anyone's curious, my third was Ransom.
All right, and that's my wild card is Ransom. Just
okay.
He made some great plays, and obviously the punt block as well too. So yeah, my wild card is Ransom.
My wild card pick. So I was gonna go Ransom here. So you got me back. Congrats. My wild card I will go with here. I'm going to go with Enoch Vamahi. When the question arose, he stepped in. So Enoch Vamahi, I thought he played, he came in, played excellently.
All right.
Of course. And a lineman from Jared. Yeah, that's how I roll. That's how I roll.
Of course.
I agree. Well, that's fair.
All right, Jared. We are coming up on time here, so we don't have any questions in our mailbag here, but it's probably for the best here as we are running short on time. You got anything else before we wrap things up?
No, like you said, we're short on time, so let's get the hell out of here. Odin threw in the last second to ask Sloopcast, hey, can I have $500? No. Sorry. Maybe if we had more Patreon money, I could give out $500, but we don't. But if you want to help contribute to the Sloopcast, you can go over to patreon.thesloopcast.com. That's patreon.thesloopcast.com. You can get access to a bunch of cool stuff for just $3 a month. You get early distro on podcast, including your own podcast feed that's strictly for you, that doesn't have those annoying Spreaker commercials that play before and during the episodes. So if you don't want to, if nothing else, for $3 a month, you can get the Sloopcast ad free. No pre-rolls, no mid-rolls, none of that stuff. Commercial-free experience. You also get premium access to the Discord server. The Discord server is free, discord.thesloopcast.com, but there are some premium channels. Shenanigans for $3 a month. Yeah, and there's a 5th episode. If 4 episodes a week, see us on card. If 4 episodes a week not good enough, there's a 5th episode. And it's total nonsense most of the time. So there you go. Kyle, do you have anything in Kyle's Corner?
I was hoping to have some good news here. I saw that the Ohio State men's soccer game was in the second round of the NCAA tournament in soccer, but did lose to UNC Greensboro in penalty kicks 6-5. I was hoping to have some good news here by the time that we got to the end of this episode, but just a little short from the men's soccer team. But for them they had an outstanding postseason and making it to the second round, beating Wake Forest in the first round. Yep, pretty solid season for this Buckeye team.
There you go. Is that it?
That's it, Jared.
All right. Let's see. Trying to find a band. Try to find a band. Do we have You Look Exhausted, Jared? That's not nice. Yeah, tonight's ending music will be brought to you by let's go with the New Bomb Turks. I like a new Bomb Turks song. So let's just go ahead and do that. Let's get the hell out of here. So with all that being said, I'd like to encourage everyone to drink local beer, listen to local music, and of course, support your local podcaster. It's once again, this is the New Bomb Turks.